Welcome to Matt's Financial and Geopolitical. I hope the week's gone well. It's very hot here. We did get a bunch of rain earlier in the middle of the week, but it's still very, very hot. Macro thoughts, my view is that the dollar is the signal in the noise, and that signal is that President Trump has gone from Trumpster to Chumpster. And big concerns now as to what exactly is going to happen, and I'll come to that in a moment. Nairobi, this is a photograph from Truth Slinger, which I liked, and I also like this one, Unscrambling Africa, by Truth Slinger as well. Both thoughts that are sort of front and center, aren't they? In my mind, at least. Sleeping antelopes, Saharan rock art, Algeria, circa 9000 BC. I'm looking forward to watching my Hannah swimming competition today, I must admit. I said to Hannah, please don't treat me like a leper when I come over and say hello. Sometimes I have to express my feelings. Hannah felt I'd been way too rambunctious in my greetings at her school and frozen me out. Now I am terribly quiet and nod my head from far away and wait patiently for an open. I'm reading Paul Auster's 4321, and it's pretty interesting. And of course, my favorite book of his is called The Music of Chance, which made a deep impression. I'll give you some quotes from Paul Auster. That stories only happen to those who are able to tell them. We all want to believe in impossible things, I suppose, to persuade ourselves that miracles can happen. You can't put your feet on the ground until you've touched the sky. Memory is the space in which a thing happens for a second time. Political reflections, I can't be doing so badly because I'm president and you are not, Trump said to Time magazine. The South China Sea reefs need defending. Chinese Premier Li says China needs military equipment on reclaimed reefs of the South China Sea to defend its trade interests in the region. Premier Li Keqiang said while denying his nation is militarizing the disputed waters. China's facilities on Chinese islands and reefs are primarily for civilian purposes, Li said in a news conference on Friday in Canberra with Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull. Even if there is a certain amount of defence equipment or facilities, it is for maintaining freedom of navigation and overflight. I think the islands are a fait accompli. A serious statement of intent. I would have thought that the Americans would have challenged it, but they haven't. The two sides are like two accelerating trains coming towards each other, Wang said, speaking about North Korea and the US, said on the sidelines of the recently concluded National People's Congress in Beijing, defining it as China's task to apply brakes on both trains. China is apparently going to accept more Australian beef exporters as leaders meet. This is a picture of PC Keith Palmer taken 45 minutes before he was killed in the Westminster attack that has emerged, BBC Newsbeat. ISIS trying to portray the London attacker as its soldier. Give me a break, he was a middle-aged crackpot in a rented Hyundai. Theresa May called him a peripheral figure. Of course, then, I referred back to how big is the tail risk. Those peripheral figures who are able to do such an act in a world of more than 7 billion. Albert Camus' L'étranger, I think, gives the best indication to the psychology of such an individual. The Byronic hero, incapable of love or capable only of an impossible love, suffers endlessly. He is solitary, languid. His condition exhausts him. If he wants to feel alive, it must be in the terrible exaltation of a brief and destructive action. And then, of course, I wrote about this, exactly a year ago bear in mind this was practically on the anniversary of the Brussels attack. And I was talking about how countries pay a heavy price for less costly terror attack. And I was talking about the edge. There is no honest way to explain it, because the only people who really know where it is are the ones who have gone over. Terrorists are waging asymmetric warfare. They cannot stand toe-to-toe with a conventional army because they would be annihilated. However, what they are doing is exploiting an asymmetric opening. I asked about the Brussels operation. How much did it cost the terrorists? Not very much, I venture. You could apply that to London as well. How much do you think the reaction has cost Belgium? More than 100 M's. The same applies to the United Kingdom. If you look at it through the prism of a return on investment, one return profile looks like a go-go NASDAQ stock pre the crash. If we assume the pipeline of Byronic heroes is limitless, then we have to appreciate the terrorist strategy as like a free option. And the state's ROI looks seriously out of whack. It's too expensive. It stalls the entire economy. And more of the state's resources are diverted into counter-terrorism. Trump data gurus leave long trail of subterfuge, dubious dealing. Last fall, the consulting firm Cambridge Analytica gained fame as the group of nerdy British data scientists that helped Donald Trump get elected. The firm says it's able to use its psychographic data models to sway undecided voters by targeting people's social media profiles and serving up messages and ads based on their perceived biases. Cambridge Analytica now hopes to leverage that success and its ties to Trump to do more business with the US government. Working from offices just blocks from the White House, it's been pitching itself to defense and national security agencies. In February, it signed a $500,000 US State Department contract to fight radicalization of young people abroad. Cambridge Analytica has faced scrutiny before over whether its data models actually work. A closer look at the past practices of its London-based affiliate SCL Group Limited reveals a corporate DNA less predisposed to dazzling technologies to sway voters than to using old-fashioned tricks and political subterfuge. In Latvia, SCL said it ran a campaign in 2006 designed to stoke tensions between Latvians and ethnic Russian residents. In essence, Russians were blamed for unemployment and other problems affecting the economy, an SCL document said. Nix confirms the firm's role, saying that its research found that such tensions would influence voting behavior. According to documents seen by Bloomberg, SCL says it helped a candidate in Trinidad by spraying graffiti slogans that appeared to be the work of young Trinidadians. The client was then able to adopt related policies and claim credit for listening to a united youth. SCL documents show Nix acknowledges advocating the use of street media such as graffiti and fly posters and says it's normal electoral practice. In many of the Caribbean islands, the work was for the United National Congress, which didn't respond to requests for comment. SCL's original description of its work in Nigeria echoes some of these concerns. According to a 2016 version of its website, SCL advised the PDP to try to dissuade opposition supporters from voting. This was achieved, the website said, by organizing anti-poll rallies on the day of the election. SCL later revised its website to say it advised its clients to focus on discrediting their opponent's electoral policy platform by organizing rallies on the day of the election to highlight those shortcomings. Nix graduated from the elite boarding school Eton, as did SCL's 55-year-old founder, Nigel Oakes. Oakes says on SCL's website that he was educated at University College London, but there's no record he studied there. Oakes also says he worked with Adrian Furnham, a UCL psychology professor, in 1989 as part of a group studying the psychology of influence, which he used as the philosophical underpinning of SCL's methods. I am of the view that all this was run through Jared Kushner, and he ran this gig for Donald Trump, and very effectively. And it is those incidental wiretaps that I think are in question, particularly when the Russian ambassador apparently visited Kushner through the back door. You can imagine the Russian ambassador was being tapped, so that entire conversation has been swept up as well. This goes back to what I wrote on the 5th of December. We have a deviate tomahawk. I was talking about the specialist who is monitoring data on his mission console when a voice breaks in. I spoke about feeding the hothouse frenzy, conspiracy frenzy, online, keeping it all in a constant state of destabilized perception. And that essentially timely and judicious doses of WikiLeaks leaks, which were obviously coordinated, drained Hillary's bona fides and her turnout, motivated Trump's. And what we have witnessed, I said, is something remarkable and noteworthy. Kellyanne's Alternative Universe is an article in The Atlantic. Will the truth ever catch up with Trump's most skilled spin artist? US 10-year yields, have a look at this chart. We've seen yields go lower of late, but let's see what develops going forward. Citigroup plans to close most London outlets, according to Bloomberg as well. Let's move on to the currency markets. Euro dollar 107.96, dollar index 99.96, Japanese yen 111.14, Swiss franc 0.9956, the pound 124.85. Aussies having a poor session, 0.7623, India rupee 65.465, South Korean won 11.2260. The Real 314.01, Egyptian pound is at 18.12, and the South African rand up 10% this year, best performing currency except for the Azeri Manat, but this is a liquid currency, and I'm half expecting President Zuma to pop out and put a spike in the rally. Aurelia is calling it a free lunch cable. I think you buy it as well. It's going up from here. We are right now at 124.85. Dollar index, I'll put up a 3-month chart. I think, you sell the dollar. I think Trump's chain is going to get yanked. Euro versus the dollar, buy the euro in my view, 107.97. Shares of companies involved in the cultivation, production, and research of medicinal marijuana have on average soared more than 130% in Sydney this year. Pretty incredible. Let's take a look at where the gold price is. 1243.49. We're in this 1200, 1255 range for now. I wrote severally about the oil price. I'm bearish. August 2015, I said the end is nigh for crude oil and oil producers from Caracas to Luanda, from Riyadh to Abuja. Crude oil itself, let's take a look. In New York, it's at $48.10. Water is the new oil, a resource long squandered and soon to be overwhelmed by insatiable demand, says The Economist. Cocoa slump testing top producers, deja vu for 80s traders. The more than 30% drop in London benchmark prices from a 6-year high in July has parallels with the 1980s crisis that saw farmers' payments shrink by half and bankrupted the marketing system. Like them, they'll see sharp cuts with the reduction for the smaller of 2 annual harvests starting next month from the current 1100 CFA francs a kilogram of beans. On today's price, the farmer would probably be around 700 to 800 CFA francs. It could be vastly different from that depending on what the political agenda is in Ivory Coast. It's way more political than just doing the maths. The current system, which aims to protect 800,000 cocoa farmers from swings in global futures markets, was set up in 2012 in a move that ended more than a decade of laissez-faire policies. The shift was a condition for the International Monetary Fund debt relief. Under the changes, part of the crop is sold before the harvest starts to ensure more stable prices for growers. The regulator Le Conseil Café Cacao, or CCC, sells as much as 80% of the nation's largest crop before the session starts, setting prices for farmers based on those sales. Like the system that operated most of the 1980s and 1990s, it relies on funds accumulated when prices are high to support farmer payments during downturns. But after 4 years of a rising market, a slump beginning in mid-2016 is bringing the arrangement to its knees. Until mid-2016, the CCC had a fairly easy time. Cocoa prices were high, the CFA franc was weak, and profitability throughout the supply chain was relatively robust. The latest crisis has exposed its weaknesses. The Ivory Coast, by the way, is the best performing sub-Saharan African economy, bar none. The response from the CCC to the current pressures in the cocoa market has been slow and lackluster. Ivory Coast's cocoa industry is notoriously secretive. Even with drastic reform, it will take a long time to really change this. Surprise, Sri Lankan central bank raises interest rates 25 basis points. No move was expected. An indebted Africa cannot be a rising Africa, Akinwumi Adesina. The warning is acquiring greater weight as government debt burdens tick up in many African countries on the back of a rising dollar, low commodity prices, rapid borrowing during the low interest rate era, and sliding currencies. The problem is not unique to Africa. Between 2014 and 2016, repayments of foreign debt by developing countries as a proportion of government revenues rose from an average of 6.7% to 9.7%, according to an analysis of 122 countries. In countries where debt crises have arisen, the danger is that the IMF and others will bail out reckless lenders, increasing debt burdens and leading to years of economic stagnation, just as in Greece. In much of Africa, memories of the debt crisis remain particularly painful as IMF-led structural adjustments often compounded economic hardship. Let's hope that our governments rein things in. Just two despots chatting on the farm. Exiled Yahya Jammeh, who's lost significant weight, hanging out with President Obiang. That's from Jeffrey T. Smith. Le Monde Afrique. Marine Le Pen is in the Chad, apparently. Trump was supposed to be the jobs president. Looks like he'll be the biggest job killer Nairobi has ever seen. I thought to myself, and I wrote about this and why I think he's a huge, clear and present danger to Africa. And I asked, I wonder if Africa's wargaming the effect of a Trump administration on the continent and modelling where the cliff edge effects might lie. South African oil shares up 2.71% so far this year. Dollar versus rand, we're at a 19-month high on the rand. Egyptian pound, 18.121. Nigerian FX traders widened spreads after black market Naira rally. Central bankers have been intervening on the official market in recent weeks to narrow the official currency spread with the black market rate. Offered to sell $100 million in currency forwards on Thursday. Bid-offer spread widened as much as 15 Naira on the black market on Thursday after the currency gained 4.9% on Wednesday to a 7-month high. It firmed to as much as 385 on the black market. Others quoted 406 to the dollar. On the official market, the Naira was quoted at 308 per dollar on Thursday. Everyone is hedging their bets. We bought the dollar as high as 500 Naira, and we don't know where this rate is going, one black market trader known as Salisu said. Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele on Tuesday said that speculators betting on a Naira fall are taking a risk and will lose. He added he expects the black market rates to narrow further. I don't think it's going to work out, and I think he's spending too much of his reserves. Nigeria all share minus 5.06% this year. The cedi has turned around its decline and gained 6.8% since March the 2nd. The Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index is up 11.77% this year. Being an ethical business in a corrupt environment is the story in the Harvard Business Review, worth a read. Tanzanian minister sacked after condemning TV intrusion. Tanzania's information minister was fired on Thursday after he criticized an ally of President John Magufuli who had stormed into a television station accompanied by armed men. The sacking comes amid an uproar over the incident in one of Tanzania's main private broadcasters, seen as yet another example of the government riding roughshod over basic freedoms since Magufuli came to power in October last year. On Friday, Dar es Salaam Regional Commissioner Paul Makonda stormed into the offices of the Clouds FM media group with 6 armed men to demand the airing of a muckraking video aimed at undermining a popular local pastor with whom Makonde has a dispute. The station refused to broadcast the video in which a woman claims to have an illegitimate child with the pastor. Information Minister Nape Nnauye visited the station in the wake of the intrusion and launched an immediate probe. We are used to seeing such incidents during coup d'etat when armed men enter studios to proclaim they are overthrowing the state, he said. If it happens in a state which is not undergoing a coup d'etat, where the president is in place, it gives a very bad image. I will advise my bosses to take punitive measures against the regional commissioner, he said. Meanwhile, as condemnation poured in from civil society and MPs, Magufuli offered support to his embattled ally. I, as president, don't let anyone tell me what to do. I decide who should be where, so you, Makonda, do your job and ignore the rest, he said. On Wednesday, Deodatus Balile, chairman of the probe team, revealed his findings, saying Makonde had threatened station staff with blackmail and jail if they didn't air the video. Then on Thursday, without any explanation, the presidency released a statement announcing the appointment of a new information minister. Nnauye said he was just trying to do his job as he addressed journalists from his car Thursday after police stopped him from holding a press conference in a hotel in the capital. He said people should not be concerned about him, but about where Tanzania is headed. East Africa's oil ambitions tested by pipeline machinations. A decade after its first big oil find, East Africa's emergence as a crude exporter has been hindered by security and cost concerns that left the region building 2 pipelines instead of 1. Uganda and Kenya developing 2 new basins and originally agreed to build 1 line to connect the landlocked discoveries to the coast. That changed last year when Uganda chose a more southerly 1,400-kilometer route through Tanzania, citing lower transit prices. Kenya will go it alone with an 865-kilometer line to a port on the Indian Ocean. 2 pipelines will test the economics of the developments. Both projects probably need an oil price of $50 to $55 a barrel to break even, while lower costs or taxes may be required to justify a final investment decision in Uganda. The Tanzanian route will get some funding help from France's Total, which owns a stake in the Uganda reserves, but it still hasn't secured the financing it needs. Further north, Kenya's explorers are under pressure to improve the project's viability by finding more resources. The Kenya pipeline seemed economically viable when Ugandan oil was going to flow through it, says Jacques Nell, an economist at NKC African Economics. With separate lines, each carrying less oil than planned and global prices remaining weak, the economics will continue to cast a shadow over the development of the sector. And then some more information. Safety was a concern for Total, which in January increased its holding in the Lake Albert site. The French company agreed to help finance part of an alternative route through Tanzania that may cost about $4 billion. Ugandan officials said that the switch was a business decision. The Kenyan route would be very costly, with a tariff of $15.90 a barrel compared with $12.20 a barrel for the Tanzanian pipeline. We took a decision which is good for our country, Maloney said. Uganda's decision dented Kenya's ambitions to develop a $26 billion regional transport corridor, leaving explorers in the country under pressure to improve the project's viability. I wrote about this in May 2016, the geopolitics of pipelines in East Africa. And I said, given that Uganda's decision to export its crude oil to world markets via the port of Tanga is now a done deal, it is worth analysing what has happened and appreciating that this is the equivalent of a blow to the solar plexus of our regional ambitions, and that these ambitions are gasping for breath. Recall that Ethiopia has already dialed up the Djibouti route. Lapset is in essence a Kenyan-South Sudan gig, and South Sudan is back at ground zero and is not in a position to finance its own recovery, let alone a pipeline. The widely read Africa Confidential said Uganda's decision to export oil through Tanzania undermines Kenya's status as regional kingpin. And I said, from the question of, as a national interest one for Uganda, it's a no-brainer. Then you have to ask, where was our intelligence? How could we be so far away from the winning bid? And that, speaking about Tanga, which is the Ugandan-Tanzanian destination of that pipeline, I wrote about it in September 2015 and called it very geostrategic. Put up a photograph of Tanga, Tanzania, taken from the sky. The Somalia president, President Farmajo, was welcomed with a 21-gun salute at State House. He's set to hold talks with Uhuru Kenyatta. The Kenya government has launched a bond for mobile investors called Emakiba, aimed at small investors who will be able to purchase the bonds via their mobile phone at a very low cost. I did an interview with the BBC, the details of which are on the link. The prospectus, it's a 3-year fixed coupon retail infrastructure bond, 10% per annum, tax-exempt interest. I like this photograph, someone trying to keep up with Eliud Kipchoge in the long run today. The Nairobi Securities Exchange reported full-year earnings per share slumped 39.831%. Revenue was down, full-year revenue 20.596%. Other income, I'm not sure what that is, was up 119%. Total income was down 11.268%. Administrative expenses increased by 8.6%. Profit for the year down 39.8%. Earnings per share down 39.631%. Cash and cash equivalents at the end of the year was slightly better. Dividend payout, although they reduced the dividend 44.898%, they increased the dividend payout ratio. We will broaden our product offerings through introduction of products geared towards matching the needs of our investors, such as exchange-traded funds, derivatives contracts, GDRs. And they're going to introduce a market-making framework and securities and lending borrowing regulations. It's highly correlated to trading volumes. We've been in a bear market. I expect a rebound in full year 2017. Stanley Fahari Ivory reported full year earnings, and their full year is 13 months. Revenue was 337 million. Net profit for the period 106 million. Basic earnings, basic EPS 59 cents a share. They're distributing 54 cents per share. Net asset value, according to them, is 19.81. The share price is currently at 10.50. Dividend of 50 cents per share. I'll have to dig deeper, but the discounted net asset value is now quite noteworthy. Kenya shilling just around the 103 level. Nairobi all share surged 1.18% yesterday, closed at a 10-week high. The Public Investment Corporation, which is in South Africa, has raised its stake in KenGen to 6.62% following the purchase of an additional 85.1 million shares. The fund is set to be allotted 351.2 million KenGen shares, equivalent to 5.33% of the equity. Recently purchased 85.1 million shares, amounting to a 1.29% stake in the open market. PIC has been buying KenGen shares in batches, and with the additional shares bought from the market, PIC's total holding on allotment will be 6.62%. The NSE 20 surged 1.5% yesterday, closed at a 10-week high. Number of shares closed at 2017 high. Standard Chartered, that's up 13.22% year to date at a 2017 high. Kenya Airways, plus 16.98% over 2 sessions. Sasini Tea and Coffee rallied 8% to close at a 2017 high. That's up 22.39% year to date. I wish you a tremendous weekend. Thank you for stopping by.